History of the origin of the Japanese chin. The history of the emergence of the Japanese chin is rooted in the deep past. The Japanese believe the chins are their national dog breed, which has not been exported outside the country for over 1,000 years. Koreans say the chins were bred in Korea and donated to the Emperor of Japan as a sign of eternal friendship. Almost the same version of the origin of the Japanese chin is put forward in China. Whatever it was, the first mention of dogs of this breed appeared in Japan, and it dates back to the 8th century AD. In the 12th to 14th century in the land of the rising sun, a real cult of Japanese chinum took shape. Poems were dedicated to dogs, they were depicted in pictures, jewelers decorated vases and sculptures with images of animals. Japanese aristocrats did everything possible to rid the breed of genetic ailments. In some cases, breeders may have tracked 10 of their pets' knees. Commoners were strictly forbidden to have these dogs, and the death penalty was imposed for breaking the law. These dogs came to Europe only in the 17th century. They were smuggled out by Portuguese merchants and presented to the Spanish king. In the 19th century, dogs ended up in the United States and then spread throughout the world. In the early 20th century, dogs proved to be excellent companions and were introduced to the court of Queen Victoria. Before the First World War, breeding work was carried out to improve the breed, but they were continued only in the 50s of the last century. Japanese chin, breed description. Officially, Japan is considered the country of origin of Japanese chin. Miniature and graceful dogs do not exceed 27 centimeters at the withers, and their weight ranges from 3 to 5 kilograms. These are graceful and miniature dogs. It is believed that the more graceful the Japanese chin is, the more it is valued. A key feature of the animals is the square body format, so the chins, despite their low weight, look tightly knit. The back of the dog is straight and wide enough. The chest is voluminous, the stomach is strong and taut. The dog's skull is quite wide, there is a sharp transition from the forehead to the mouth. The nose is upturned, slightly above the upper lip are pads, giving the dog an unusual appearance. The color of the pads is always the same as the color of the eyes and can be black or dark brown. The neck is long, the head is set high. The jaws of dogs are short and strong. They are pushed forward and form a straight taste. It is not uncommon for dogs to have teeth missing in the lower jaw, but this is not considered a deviation from breed criteria. The eyes of the Japanese chin are large and set wide enough. By breed standards, they should be large, but not bulging, without any defects or diseases. Large and shiny eyes make the dog always amazed and adorable. The ears of this breed are in the shape of a regular triangle. They sag a little and are partially covered by long hair. The ears are almost motionless and can only move slightly if the dog is listening. The fore and hind legs of the dog are very thin and covered with hair to the knees. The muscles on the legs are practically not observed. The dog is not adapted for long running or walking. The toes are elongated, tightly pressed together, the pads are oval. The tail is the pride of any Japanese chin. It effectively twists into a ring and is almost completely hidden by the length of the coat. Popular Japanese chin colors. There are a large number of Japanese chin colors, but only a few of them are officially recognized and allowed for competitions and contests. The standard Japanese chin colors include black and white. Live classics. The most common color of dogs of this type. The first Japanese chins were of this color and it has remained unchanged for centuries. In this case, the dog's nose should be black without any admixture of other colors, white and red. Another standard color for the breed. Such dogs appeared relatively recently, no more than 100 years ago, but immediately gained popularity among fans of this breed. Chins of this color are not so much contrasting as their black and white counterparts, but much more spectacular. Breeders value dogs with bright red spots. The brighter the color of the dog, the higher the chances of recognition at exhibitions and competitions. Interestingly, white and red dogs never have a black nose. It is usually pink or brown. Sable. The last officially recognized color. In fact, these are the same white-red dogs, but the red spots in them have a sable tint. Moreover, they are not clear, but blurry. It gives the impression of a soft transition from white to sable. The peculiarity of dogs of this color is that their nose is only black, which is related to black and white chins. Interesting fact, red spots in dogs do not appear immediately. Often puppies are born completely white and the red color appears only after the first year of life, with the onset of puberty. Non-standard dog colors include tricolor. Japanese chins of this color combine black, white and red colors. Currently, animals of this color are recognized only in the USA and Canada and do not have world recognition. Chocolate white. Another combined color. Instead of black spots, there are chocolate spots. The first representatives of the breed appeared only 20 years ago and have not yet received official recognition. The nature and habits of the Japanese chin. Dogs of the Japanese imperial family are distinguished by intelligence and quick wit, as well as incredible tolerance. These are active, but not fussy dogs, capable of lying all day on the couch with equal success and walking for hours in the park. That being said, Japanese chins are surprisingly brave animals. If the owner is in danger, the dog will rush to his defense without hesitation for a second. These dogs can not only bite, but hiss and even spit. Moreover, the ability to hiss is not the only thing that a chin has in common with a cat. This dog is quite jumpy, it easily jumps to great heights and sometimes even meows, just like a big cat. Despite the fact that Japanese chins are very loyal to their owners, they are unobtrusive. If the pet sees that the owner is busy or cannot pay attention, then he will never come up first and will wait for attention to him. Fun fact, a unique feature of Japanese chins is their incredible cleanliness. The Japanese chin is licked just as often as the average cat and is ready to bathe as many times a month as she wants. Moreover, if the owner of the dog takes a bath, the hen will gladly bathe with him. If two such dogs live in the house, or a Japanese chin and a cat, then they will gladly lick each other and keep them clean. In addition, Japanese chins are not at all playful dogs. They don't gnaw on slippers, don't arrange stash, and don't spoil expensive furniture. Japanese dogs are very delicate, they will find language with all family members, but they will truly only be devoted to one person. In addition, these dogs are capable of adapting to any lifestyle of their owner. They are able to travel and lie on the couch for days on end. Interesting facts about Japanese chins. There are many interesting facts about such a wonderful dog as the Japanese chin. Here are just the most entertaining ones. The second name of the Japanese chin is the Japanese Spaniel. This is a clear oversimplification, since dogs from the land of the rising sun and common spaniels have nothing in common. Japanese chins are the calmest of all decorative dogs. Usually, small dogs are characterized by increased activity, nervousness, and aggressiveness, but the Japanese chins behave with imperial dignity and incredible calmness. Chins get along well with other pets. Even if you keep him with animals of large breeds, he will find a common language with him. Well, Japanese chin gets along with cats in the best way. Despite their modest size, Japanese chins do not allow themselves to be treated as decorative items or toys. These dogs will force themselves to be respected and treated as equals. Japanese chins are in great need of love and care. This dog needs to be loved, and he needs to feel special and needed. Without love, China's quickly become depressed and ill. The owners of the Japanese chins were such famous people as the Emperor of the Russian Empire Nicholas II, US President Franklin Pierce, Marshal Georgy Zhukov and the large Rothschild family. In addition, dogs of this breed are courtiers at the palace of the Japanese emperor. These dogs know how to meow and look for secluded spots for their rookeries. Given their jumping ability, chins can be found sleeping on a shelf in a closet or on a bookshelf. Pros and cons of Japanese chins. By and large, these dogs do not have any perceptible disadvantages. These dogs are very well suited for keeping in small apartments. Also, the benefits of these dogs include cleanliness. The animal is so clean that it is ready to lick itself several times a day. In terms of cleanliness, these dogs can easily compete with cats. By doing this, they greatly facilitate the life of their owner, since it will not be difficult to wash and comb them out. The dogs will only be happy. High intelligence. These dogs were specially bred in order to be with a person constantly. Therefore, they differ in intelligence and a certain tact. The dog will never bother its owner just like that and will wait for the moment when he is free. High adaptive abilities. Usually, dogs prefer to lead an active or passive lifestyle. Japanese chins are ready to adapt to the rhythm of their owner's life. They can go on long walks or lie on the couch enjoying TV shows with their host. However, there are certain difficulties in keeping these pets. The most significant of them look like this: poor health. Chins have certain health problems. A fragile physique, protruding eyes and a displaced nasal septum, all this makes health problems in Japanese chins inevitable from middle age. Finicky food. In order to feed this dog you will have to try a lot. These creatures are very picky about their food and will take several months to find the right diet. Breeding Japanese chins. The main problem that arises when breeding Japanese chins is finding the right pair. The fact is that the Japanese chin breed is extremely small in number. Naturally, this imposes the most serious restrictions on reproduction. Finding the right pair is not easy. First, you need to find the right match by age and pedigree. Secondly, it is extremely important to choose two knitting partners of the same color. It is highly recommended not to cross two chins of different colors. This will result in tricolor puppies that will not be considered purebred. In addition, crossing two dogs with different colors will result in puppies with genetic disabilities. Interesting fact: Japanese chin puberty occurs at the age of 1.5 years. By this time, the animals have passed the first adult molt and the color is finally established. You need to bring a bitch for mating on the 10th to 12th day of estrus. This is the optimal time for conceiving puppies. Despite the small size, the dogs cope with mating on their own, and the dog can be very persistent in achieving his goal. However, the presence of an experienced breeder is required, as he makes sure that the pets do not accidentally maim each other. Pregnancy lasts 7 to 8 weeks, childbirth takes place on its own, but given the value of the breed, the birth process is usually supervised by a veterinarian, or they even take place in a veterinary clinic. Japanese Chin care. The rarity and uniqueness of the breed is compensated by the ease of maintenance and care. Japanese Chin does not require special care, and the only problem that may arise is related to the selection of the diet. First of all, you don't need to buy a dog collar. She has an overly fragile neck and delicate throat, and they can be injured by a leash and collar. It is best to buy a torso harness. This will distribute the load from the leash, and the dog will not be in any danger during walks. In hot weather, the dog does not need to be walked for too long. She does not tolerate high temperatures well and begins to suffocate from the intense heat. It is necessary to walk the dog in the shade or carefully choose the time for the walk. In the cold season, it is recommended to dress the dog in overalls or other clothes, since it has practically no undercoat and it freezes very quickly. In winter, the dog can be walked once a day, as she herself will not ask to go out too often. Despite the fact that the dog has a long coat, it requires special care. It is enough to comb the animal once a week and once a day during molting, and this is quite enough to keep it clean and tidy. The dog loves to wash, and problems with this are not guaranteed. Once every 2 weeks, you need to clean the chin ears and trim the nails. To trim nails, it is better to purchase special nippers, and this will greatly facilitate their cutting. Japanese chin eyes require special care. They roll out and get dust and dirt. Once a week, the eyes need to be wiped with herbal infusion, and this will save the dog from many problems in the future. The diet of Japanese chins. Japanese chins are extremely food sensitive. They may refuse to eat food that smells bad or look suspicious in appearance. And if caring for a dog is easy enough, then feeding can be a real problem. There are 3 types of food for Japanese chin: natural. Professional breeders believe that this is the healthiest and most healthy diet for this dog. However, it is the most costly and time-consuming. You need to cook food every day, or at least every other day, and the cost of food can exceed the cost of food for an adult. If you plan to feed your dog with natural products, then you need to buy a rabbit, beef, or turkey. Boil porridge from natural cereals with the addition of boiled vegetables. Do not forget about natural fruits and vegetables, they also need to be given to the dog. Sometimes you can add boiled sea fish, dairy products and boiled chicken eggs to food. Combined. Includes a combination of natural and artificial nutrition. That is, the dog eats industrial food most of the days a week, and only sometimes, usually twice a week, he is given pieces of boiled meat, fish or cottage cheese. Artificial nutrition. The dog is completely transferred to industrial feed. This helps to significantly reduce the time spent feeding the dog, but requires the purchase of fairly expensive food. Economy class feed should be eliminated immediately. They will negatively affect the health of the animal. It is necessary to give preference to premium manufacturers that produce dry food with the addition of vitamins and trace elements. An important fact: the puppy needs to be fed 5 to 6 times a day, and the adult dog needs to be fed 2 meals a day. Although the Japanese chin is passive, it needs a high-calorie food. Diseases and health problems. When planning to buy a Japanese Hina puppy, you should consider the fact that these are quite painful dogs. They are characterized by the fragility of small dogs and have their own trademark sores. The unusual shape of the skull and snub-nosedness add to health problems. The shortened facial bones of the skull lead to quite serious respiratory diseases. Both in the cold and in the heat, these dogs breathe with great difficulty. Therefore, at high and low temperatures, it is recommended not to walk the dog at all. Moreover, at puppyhood, the Japanese chins develop dropsy of the brain, and this disease is incurable. Such dogs are simply put to sleep. Another big problem with these dogs is bulging eyes. In 10% of dogs, a second row of eyelashes, distichiasis, may begin to grow, resulting in persistent irritation of the mucous membrane of the eye. The extra row of eyebrows is removed using a simple operation. Also, chins often have dislocation of the eyeball or strabismus. It is recommended to regularly rinse the dog's eyes with a solution of tea or chamomile. Due to their underdeveloped lower jaw, Japanese chins cannot chew food thoroughly. This leads to chronic diseases of the digestive tract and, as a result, to volvulus. Like all other small dogs, chins have a fragile skeleton and weak joints. They often suffer from hind limb dislocations and hip joint necrosis. The Japanese chin must be handled with great care so as not to injure the dog with an awkward touch or an overly strong hug. After 10 years of life in dogs of this breed, all chronic diseases become aggravated, deafness progresses and vision problems begin. Japanese chin. Price and how to buy correctly. Buying a puppy in the bird market is a risky business. There is a high risk of acquiring a dog with an unclean pedigree, or even a mestizo. Naturally, such a puppy can suffer from a number of genetic diseases and, having matured, even outwardly will not resemble the Japanese chin. Interesting fact, Pekingese puppies are often sold under the guise of Japanese chins. At the age of 6 to 8 months, puppies of these dog breeds are very similar to each other and only specialists can distinguish them. The deception is that a Pekingese puppy is an order of magnitude cheaper than a Japanese chin puppy. A pet class puppy from the kennel will cost $200. Such dogs are not allowed to breed, but nothing will prevent him from becoming a reliable friend and companion. A show class puppy will cost $900. To get the desired pet, you will have to wait in line for up to 6 months. Before you start choosing a puppy, you first need to choose a decent kennel. Professional breeders are happy to invite potential buyers and show their dogs. For each puppy sold, they issue passports and medical documents confirming his health and the absence of genetic diseases. Be sure to look at the producers of the nursery. They should not have inherited diseases and obvious physical abnormalities. If you liked a particular puppy, then you need to examine it from the tip of the tail to the tip of the nose. The ears of a small dog should be clean, eyes clear without films and pus, white teeth, and soft and fluffy hair. The kid should stand firmly on his paws, be playful and gladly walk into the hands of people. The Japanese chin is truly a royal dog. The small size hides an incredibly great dignity and tremendous charisma. This dog will force himself to be respected and knows how to fall in love with himself at first sight. It is suitable both as a lady's dog and as a companion dog and will accompany the owner wherever he goes.